Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to my Flosstube channel. This is Savory Sewing, which is a YouTube channel where I talk mainly about cross stitch, occasionally other sewing things. You can also find me on Instagram at Savory Sewing as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Flosstube number 14. I'm filming it on January 6, 2024, and it is going to be a video that is about my 2024 plans for my stitching. I won't be doing the usual style floss tube, so you won't see the usual works in progress, finishes, or any haul. It's just going to be all plans, which I kind of love because I love planning, so hopefully you do too. Otherwise you might be in for some disappointment and you will click off right now. Anyway, hope you all had a nice winter holiday, and I have to say, I can't believe it's 2024 already. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, what happened to, I'm still in 2019, let's be real. Anyway, so what today is going to look like, I think, is I'm going to talk about how I stitch, and how I plan out my stitching throughout the year. And then I'm also going to try joining folks who are doing the 24 new starts in 2024, as well as I put together a WIPGO board for the first time this year. So I'll talk about all of that when I get to those parts of the video. But that's what we're going to do. So this is the first time I've ever done a planning video. I started my Flosstube channel at the end of July last year, and so this is the first full year, or at least the first new year, where I've started or I've filmed a planning video. So yeah, we shall see how this goes. I have always been planning how I'm going to stitch. I usually have usually done it month by month. I started stitching in March of 2020 during the pandemic, like I think many folks did. They found a craft and they latched onto it during COVID times. So cross stitch was that for me. So I think right around March 29th, I think. Yeah, March 29th was the day I started my very first project. And the reason why I know that is because it's still to this day is my oldest WIP. So March 29th, 2020 is my cross stitch anniversary. So when I started stitching, I just sort of, I was fairly monogamous, but I had a few things, and then I started watching Flosstube like many folks do, and then all of a sudden I had 35 WIPs, 50 WIPs, whatever. And so after that, I gravitated towards a certain style of patterns, which if you've been watching at all since I started filming, I stitch a lot. I like Halloween and spooky things mostly. I don't really stitch a little Christmas. I don't really stitch much spring or Easter or patriotic. I don't stitch reproduction samplers, although I have a few sampler type things in my WIP pile, as well as in my stash of patterns. So when I started thinking about how I was gonna get all of this done, I did put together some sort of monthly things that I like to do and places where I like to focus on things, as well as joining in on some of the daily prompts where folks stitch on things like Dark 13, or stitching on Christmas on the 24th and the 25th. So I do some of that. So I'll talk about that in detail. And then really what I like to do is, I try to decide in a month I want to stitch on this thing, and then I try to touch all the WIPs that are in that category. So I will be going through all of that in this video. I'm going to show what I've got planned for my 24 new starts, as well as go through my WIPGO board. And yeah, that's what I've got. So grab a beverage and let's go. All right, so before I start talking about the rest of my plans, I want to talk a little bit about what 2023 looked like, just to recap that and put a pin in that before I start moving on to 2024. So I did film a 2023 finish parade, which was the video previous to this, if you're interested. in seeing that. I also did a whip parade in August. So my second Flosstube video ever was a whip parade. So that's why I decided not to film a whip parade at this time of the year, because I just did it 5 months ago, and some things haven't gotten a lot of love since then. So I didn't think it was useful. I think going forward, I will do a whip parade sort of on my Flosstube anniversary, rather than during the the end of the year, beginning of the year season, like many folks do. So in 2023, I had I ended up officially with 58 finishes, although a few of those were UFOs. So I UFO'd 3 things. I finished 55. I don't know what number I just said, but I'm looking at my spreadsheet. I always forget to subtract 1 because of the heading row. So I think I had 58. Yeah, I had 55 finishes. UFO'd 3 things. I had come into 2023 with 36 whips, works in progress, from the previous years. I am leaving 2023 and entering 2024 with 35 whips, so one to the good. I had 51 new starts in 2023. So roughly I've started, let's see, luckily, I'm really going to average the last 3 years because 2020 doesn't really start. I average about 55 new starts a year. I finished a lot of things, but I averaged over the last 3 years 55 new starts, and I've averaged 45 finishes a year. So I stitch a lot, which is good, but also those are big numbers. So some things are small. Let's go with that. So that's where we're ending up 2023. So we're starting 2024 with 35 works in progress. And of them, and this plays into WIPGO, which I will talk about in a minute, but 1 is from 2020. 1 whip is left over from 2021, or excuse me, 5 whips from 2021, 10 in 2022, and then the rest of them are 2023 whips. So I have 16 that are over 2 years old. And so those are going to be the focus of my WIPGO board that I'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, so that's where we're starting 2024. 35 whips, and then plans for at least 24 new starts, but knowing that I generally start 50 plus things, so pre-planning 24 of them is probably a smart move, but there'll be plenty more that you won't see in this planning video. All right, so when I was thinking about 2024, I put together sort of and pulled from what I've done previously, like the things I like to stitch on in each month. And they're kind of seasonal, but they're kind of not, because there are some seasons that I don't really stitch those things in. Like I don't stitch spring, as I think I just said. So in like spring months, I don't really have patterns that fit that. So I've co-opted them for things that I tend to stitch. So I'm going to put in a graphic here where I've kind of laid out what my 2024 monthly prompts are. And then I'm going to just talk through them real quick. And then they also correspond kind of to my 24 new starts, fit those themes. And then I will touch hopefully all the whips in those categories in that month. So that's kind of how I set goals for myself. And then I do kind of whatever I want on top of that. It's not like a hard and fast thing. So in January, I usually stitch on winter themed things. I'm usually wrapping up some things for maybe Christmas that maybe I want to get a finish on. I have a couple pieces that are, that feel cold, if you will, like or I'll touch my New Year, New Start. Like for example, last year I started a pattern called, and I'll put a picture here, Tell Me I'm Pretty by Dirty Annie. This was my New Year, New Start 2022. Or 2023, I guess it's 2024 now. I still keep forgetting. And so I will stitch on this this month, and maybe other things that are outstanding in January, and some other patterns. In February, this year at least, I'm going to join in on Februaviary. So I'll stitch birds in February. I have plenty of bird patterns. I was in the Bird Crush Club that Lindy Stitches had a couple years ago. I love stitching things that have owls on them, so I'm going to try to touch on every WIP that has a bird in it in February. In March is my birthday month, and so I've decided March is whatever I want month. It is what it is. It's probably going to be owls, and I have some fun starts planned, so I will work on those. In April I stitched Halloween, and that was because in 2021, by the time I was done, I don't stitch spring. 2021 was basically the first second April I'd stitch, so I started in March of 2020, got to April, and I was like, I want to make sure I get some Halloween stuff done in time for October, so, you know, I don't want to stitch all my Halloween in October, so at least the past, in 2021, 2022, and 2023, so not that many years, I've really focused on Halloween. And part of the reason why I had so many Halloween finishes is because I have a whole month, or 2 whole months really, where I stitch Halloween. Like a lot of folks will do like Jolly July or Christmas in July, so they start a lot of Christmas stuff in July and have a lot of Christmas finishes. Well, I stitched a lot of Halloween in April so that I have a lot of Halloween finishes. Like in 2023, for example, this past year, I had 27 Halloween or spooky themed finishes, and that's partly because I dedicate a lot of time to it. So I will do that again this year. It works for me, so that's what I'm going to do. In June is I skipped May. May I have earmarked for, I call it sewing and flower themed finishes, and I don't know if that is I don't know, that's just the way it worked out. And sewing partly is because there are a lot of really cute sewing themed patterns that I like. And I wanted to stitch some of them to decorate my craft room. And so I decided that if I don't focus on them, they're not going to get done. So that's where that came from. And then some of them often have flowers in them, so it just makes sense. And then occasionally I do like to stitch something that's like floral and pretty. And so in May I will touch all of those WIPs. And I think I've got a few new starts that are also in that month that have plants or flowers on them. June is Craftivism month. June is Pride month in the US. So that's partly where that came from. And then I just ended up, it's something that I really like to stitch, is things that have meaning, that aren't, you know, that represent a cause that I care about. And so I decided that June, I would focus on those sorts of patterns to make sure that they all got touched no matter what every year. So I have, I don't know, you'll see I've got a few starts planned for that month. I have a number of other projects that will be on the go all month, and that way they all get some attention in June and they're a focus. In July, I will be stitching Christmas and some Patriotic. I don't have a ton of either, but I do have some big Christmas pieces that I have started that I would like to get finished. And I will say that this past December, actually the past 2 Decembers, I purchased the Holiday Countdown Sal from Evertotes, Roxy Floss, and Modern Folk Embroidery. And while I do love it, it takes all of my time in that month, and that means all my other Christmas pieces, the big ones that are, you know, intended to be sort of my own personal items in my house, don't get a lot of love, because I also try to work on ornaments and gifts for others. So I will be working on some of those Christmas projects in July this year. In August, I just have garden written, and that's mostly because I have some big samplers that are garden themed that I'd like to get done. And in August is when my garden is, you know, in full bloom. And so to me, that's what August is. It's the time when your garden's finally like reached its like full potential and everything is flowering or blooming or ready to be harvested if you're a vegetable gardener. And so that's what August is to me. In September, I will start working on autumn themed things. I have a number of fall patterns that I like. I have sampler September written in there as well. I do have some large sampler style pieces that I would like to focus on in September. Join the rest of the Flosstube community in participating in Sampler September. October, obviously Halloween, there's no question. November, again, I'll pull out some more autumn themed things. I have, you know, some, got also Nora November earmarked there because I do have one Nora Corbett pattern on the go. I hopefully she'll be done by then, but if not, then I will make a plan to get her finished in November next year, and then December is just Christmas stitching. I think, I don't know if you heard that ding, but that was my iron shutting off because I just ironed everything to start filming this video. So that's what I will stitch on every month, and really the plan there is to touch every WIP that fits into those categories, and maybe think about new starts that also fit those categories. October, like April and October, for example, Halloween will be really heavily focused on those things. That doesn't mean that nothing else gets started, but that's the plan there. Yeah, so that's how I think about the months of the year. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how I stitch within those months, because there are certain days that other things get touched as well. So in addition to monthly sort of themes, within the months, I also like to join some of the various stitch alongs that are things that are stitched on, like either usually, well, they're days of the month or days of the week. There are, myriad of those that folks do. I've chosen ones that fit the things that I like to stitch. Like, for example, I don't do like full coverage Friday. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I don't have any full coverages. I don't join Chatelaine Wednesdays, although I love seeing Chatelaine Wednesdays on Instagram because I don't have a chatelaine. But anyway, these are the things that I do stitch. Here's a quick graphic that runs through the things that I do. Sometimes I join others, but these are the ones I do most months, or at least I target pieces for each month when I'm thinking about my monthly plans. So on the 6th, 7th, and 8th, that's when I like to stitch on something Craftivism related. And why is this? There's no good reason why it's the 6th, 7th, or the 8th. It's just that is just what it is. On the 13th and the 31st, like many folks, I like to do dark 13 stitching, so I stitch on Halloween. Likely most of what that's going to be in 2024 is All Hallows Eve Sampler by Joan Elliott. I started that on Friday the 13th, and I would like to continue to stitch on that on Friday the 13th with Stephanie. On the 24th and 25th, I'm going to try to work on something Christmas related, because I just have so many pieces. Excuse me, so many big pieces I want to get done. Probably what that focus is going to be this year, though, is each month I'm going to try to work on one of the pieces from Liz Matthews' 12 Days of Christmas series. I'm working on the 3rd day of Christmas right now, and I'd really like to get the 3rd and maybe the 4th done next year. We'll see, but that's the 3rd definitely, and if I can get the 4th and some work on it, that would be really good to getting all 12 of them done. On Saturdays, I'm going to work on Dark Queen till she's done. That's what I did in 2023. And then December happened and I sort of fell off the bandwagon. That's why she still doesn't have a head. So my goal for this January is to do that. Although it is Saturday, January 6th. And I will tell you, I've not stitched on the Dark Queen today. So next Saturday, she will get pulled out. On Sundays, I stitch on owls. I started doing that as a way to finish the 100 Owl Stitch Along by Owl Force Embroidery a few years ago. And I have enough patterns that have owls on it, and that makes me happy. So I try to stitch on something with an owl every Sunday. I don't do a Sabbath stitch or anything religious. So I want to say my religion is owls because it's 100% not, but I like to stitch on owls on Sundays. And then there are a couple other pieces that I'll probably stitch on monthly. Moon Glow, which I'm working on. I'm selling with a number of folks. Started with Stephanie from not Stephanie. Yeah, Stephanie. Lots of Stephanies. From Cross Stitch the Globe, and Allie from Allie Z's Crafty, and now Katie from Peacock Stitcher, and a couple other folks have joined as well. I would like to stitch on that on the full moon, but I looked at the full moon schedule for 2024, and it's generally on the 25th of the month. So we shall see how that plays out. But I would like to stitch on that at least once every month because I'd really like to get that done. And And then I might pull out other things randomly to join folks. It's possible I might join All Force Fridays. It means I get autumn flowers worked on, or who knows what other pieces I will add to my pile of projects that make sense to stitch during the week. But I think this is enough. I think if I have one, two, three, I've got 6 or 7 days that are tied up with daily prompts. I've got monthly themes in which I'd like to touch every WIPs, plus I've got WIPGO, plus things that I can't foresee. That's plenty of stitching. And again, too, these are plans, optimistic plans. If they don't pan out or something better comes along, there are many squirrels in cross stitch, as we all know. You know, it will be what it will be. So, all right. So I'm going to talk about my planned new starts for 2024. I actually don't know where the 24 new starts in 2024 hashtag came from. I saw it on a couple different videos and I was just like, I thought it might be fun. So that's what we're going with. Usually I don't plan out, or have not planned out every new starts. I usually just plan them month by month, or if I know that I want to gift someone something, I kind of have an idea of what that's going to be and when I should start it to get it done. But this year I decided I was going to do this, and we shall see how it goes. So it's already January 6th when I'm recording this. So I've actually already started one of my January planned new starts, and the other one I haven't started yet. So the one that I have started is by D's 20 Stitches. I purchased the 2024 Stitch for Pride stitch along that they are hosting, and I've started the January piece. And so I'm going to show you in this video if I've started or worked on things, which is really only 2 pieces because I haven't stitched that much so far in January. But I've worked on one of my WIPGO goals, and I've started this one piece. So I'm going to put, I don't think I can put a picture of the pattern here because I think it's just the stitch pattern. But if Dee stitched it and released it, I will put a picture here of what it looks like. So they are doing a stitch along, which unfortunately you can't purchase anymore. They only pre-sold it through the end of 2023. And each month there will be a different motif based on a queer artist, whether they're trans or gay or lesbian or what have you. I think that's what it is. I should know this. And they collaborated with 2 other folks in their community, Jasmine from, is it Knitting Nurse Jasmine, and Jessie from Miss Lee Pages, to dye floss and fabric respectively. And I was able to purchase the floss pack, and so it's beautiful. I'm not going, if you want to go see what the flosses look like, Dee has put them in their video where they introduce this. I did not buy the fabric. I decided that I didn't want to hoard all of the goodies, and I would let someone else, get the fabric, and I would just buy the floss. So this is what I've got done so far. Isn't that beautiful? So this is based on art by Keith Haring. And the floss color names are all just named after the artist. And so I'm not going to show you those because they have the artists' names on them, and they asked that we not spoil it for folks if you got the floss pack and other folks did. Because if you didn't get the floss pack, you wouldn't know all those names. So this is where I am. This is stitched on. This is 32 count elegant by Fortnite Fabrics. And that's where I am. And I'm doing it as one piece. That's the back. I'm going to do it as one piece. So it will be roughly this big. And I believe it's going to be like 4 across and 3 down because there's 12. And I think when I'm done with it, I'm going to turn it into a project bag because I think it would make a really cool bag. And it's going to be roughly the exact right size for the front panel of a project bag. So that is my first of my 24 new starts in 2024. My other planned new start is one of my 3 final Bird Crush Club birds. In 2021, Lindy Stitches had a club called the Bird Crush Club, and you got a pattern every month. You can now, I think, buy all the patterns individually. And I have 3 left. Tara from Wilda Woman Crafts just finished her last bird at the end of December during her Vlogmas, her Flossmas, whatever she called it. And it inspired me to get all these birds are part of my 24 new starts, so I can get them done and be done with them all. And this is the bird for January. I'll show you a picture of the bird. And then this is the pattern. This is the violet green swallow. And some of the things that I have planned for 24, I have fabric and floss sorted. Some of them I don't, so I'll show you what I've got, and then some of it I know, I've got time to figure it out. So I've got fabric. I know this is Picture This Plus 16 count something. I don't know if it's Valor or Alchemy, because one of them is greenish and one of them is bluish, and I have both, and I get them both confused for no good reason. So this is the fabric, which looks very similar to what's called for, and then I've got a little Ziploc baggie with the threads in it, and so I'm going to get that started this month. So that's January. In February, I have 2 patterns planned as well, and so one is another bird from the same club by Lindy Stitches, and that is this one. This is the red faced warbler, and I'm probably going to put photos in of all of these as well. I've got a new ring light, and I'm not quite sure how to work it yet, clearly. But that little bird, and then I'm going to stitch it on this pink fabric. This is Summer Soiree by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. And then I've got the floss here. So we've got 2 birds so far. And then I've got this one. So this is just going to be a picture because I don't have, I just have a PDF. This is Moonshine Cabin by Modern Folk Embroidery. I loved this when it came out, and I think I bought it immediately, and it's been sitting. It feels very like cozy and February, so it's going to get started this month. This is the fabric I have for it. Oh, look at that. This is Night Sky by Fiber on a Whim. You can see I've got plenty of fabric, so this is actually going to come up again because I'm going to use this for another piece I think that I've got planned for this year. So Moonshine Cabin, Modern Folk Embroidery. March. So March is my birthday month. So I've got my birthday start picked out, and then I've got a new owl to start. So my first birthday start is going to be Una Owl by the Artsy Housewife. And I will put a picture here because I think it's easier for folks to see pictures than me awkwardly holding up charts. But most of you have probably seen Una. She's adorable. So I decided she was going to be a birthday start. I've got some of the called for glosses already pulled. I've got some of the Classic Colorworks here stashed away. And I think I'm going to stitch her 1/1 on 25 count Lugana. That might change, but I've never stitched anything 1/1 on 25 count. I think she'd be super cute, very small. And the fabric is the right color, I think, based on the picture and the flosses that I pulled so far. So Una Owl is earmarked for that. And look how cute she is. So cute. My big new start for my birthday, so this is my birthday start, is, I'll put a picture here because it'll be easier to see than the pattern. The pattern's kind of small, but this is Olivia the Forest Witch by Bella Filipina. And I have no business purchasing, stitching, or even looking at this pattern, but she's gorgeous and I couldn't resist. And there's also an owl on her. So I purchased all of the called for. So here's the pattern as well. I've got the fabric from Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers, and it's called Fall Foliage. I got 32 count linen, which I believe is what's called for in the pattern. And it is really pretty, so I'll show you real quick. It's this dirty purple. So good. And I've got, I think I have I don't think I have all the good doodads that go with it, because I think I started ordering them from 1-2-3 Stitch, and they were sold out of various bits of like the treasures and what have you. So I have some of the beads, I have some of the DMC, but I definitely have enough to get started, and I will source the rest of it before then. So Stephanie from Frolic Knits also wants to start her, and so this is your call out, Stephanie, to find fabric by March 9th if you want to start her with me. No pressure. But I'm super excited. I've seen a couple other folks on Instagram start stitching her, and I'm very excited. She's probably going to take a long time, and no, I have not finished Dark Queen of the Earth yet, but she will get finished by my birthday. She will have a head so that I can start Olivia and not feel, well, I'm going to start her anyway. I'll feel less guilty if Dark Queen is done, but that's not going to stop me. All right, so there's March. So in April's Halloween month, folks, so we're going to start some Halloween things. I have a bunch. I've been stitching a lot of Halloween smalls. I have a ton of Halloween like bigs. So I'm going to start 2 of them in April this year. And the ones that I have planned right now, and this could change, are Witches Training Academy, picture here, but I'll also show you here, by Kathy Barrick. I've had this in my stash since she released it, and I just love it. I am going to stitch it on purple. This is Heather by Fiber on a Whim. I'm not going to take it out of the bag, but it's a really pretty purple. I have pulled the floss, and I will say, so the witches in here are wearing little purple dresses. I'm going to change their color because the purple that's called for does not look good on this fabric. But I have plenty of purple floss in my stash, so I'm not worried about it. I might also tweak some of the oranges as well. I'm going to leave the moon as is because I think the moon is, I think the way those shade are, you know, they're good. But the rest of it, the witches dresses and the pumpkins, I might pick other shades of orange and purple for, which I don't think is gonna, you know, affect anything. I think they'll just look nicer with the fabric. With the moon looks really good. So I'm really excited about this one. I absolutely love this pattern. Also in April, I'm going to start, which I realize this is my very first Blackbird. I've never stitched something from Blackbird Designs. I've seen a million people stitch Blackbird. I've heard, you know, buy all the Blackbirds, all the Blackbirds. I own 3 Blackbird Designs patterns, and I'm going to start 2 of them this year. And the first one is going to be Away We Ride. I will put a picture of Away We Ride in here as well. Lots of folks started this past year because this was re-released, and I bought it as well. Just haven't started it yet. I've got it kitted up-ish with some of the floss, and I'm going to stitch it on Cobblestone by Forbidden Fiber Co., which is a really pretty neutrally gray color. It's not, I'm not stitching it with any of the called for, I don't think. I think I had one of the Gentle Arts. But this is the gray I've got, which I think will be nice. And so I'm picking my colors in theme, you know, going along with what the pattern called for, but things that will go with this fabric. I think it's a little bit cooler toned than what was called for. Well, maybe not. It's a pretty cool gray. This might be a little bit different, but still cool. So I'm going to start those 2 in April. And let me put this away. I'm going to move on to May. In May, I have 2 plant-themed, garden-themed patterns, both of which I will put pictures of here because they are both PDFs. One is by Miriam from Marumi Designs, and this is called Persian Rug. No, is it called Persian Rug or is it called Silk Garden? It might be called Silk Garden. Yeah, I've got a printout of the list. I have Persian Rug written down, but I'm pretty sure it's called Silk Garden. Yes, it's called Silk Garden. Now I'm questioning myself. If I'm wrong, I'll put it here. And I have pulled the called for floss that I had, which are, you know, are very brightly colored. You can tell from the picture of the pattern here that it's very brightly colored. Here's just some of the DMC. You know, Miriam does not shy away from the use of color here. So basically, oh, I've got a whole rainbow right here in my hands. But I'm not going to stitch it on white. I'm going to stitch it on this. This is Mirage by Picture This Plus, which is a really pretty purple blue. And I think it's going to look really good. The colors are going to really, I think, look really nice on this. And this purpley color is, yeah. So I'm really excited to start this. I think this is a gorgeous pattern. I really like Miriam's style. This is the first pattern of hers that I've stitched. And if I hadn't already planned on this, she has a beautiful stitch along going on right now called, I'll put it here because I forgot what it's called, but it's basically from the winter solstice to, I think, the summer solstice or the spring solstice. From, is it Yalda to Nowruz? It's like a band sampler, and I might just have to get it and hold out and stitch it later because it's looking really gorgeous. So that is May. Oh, and then my second pattern in May is picture here. This is Greenhouse of Oddities, which I know many folks have stitched and love. This was a stitch along in 2023 that I bought at the very, very end. Once I started seeing it almost done, I was like, had some FOMO. I actually stitched the bonus pattern that came with it already, which is this one. This is Carnivorous Terrarium. And then I decided I wanted to stitch the actual whole thing. And so I've got a piece of fabric picked. This is, I think this is Picture This Plus Alchemy. This is where I can't remember if this is Alchemy or Valor, and the blue versus the green. And this is, I think this is 16 count Ada. And so I'm going to start that in May because I keep seeing everyone finishing theirs at the end of the year this year, and it's so cool. And I need to have it in my life. And it lives in this adorable mushroom bag, which I think is appropriate. So May. June. So June is Craftivism month. So I'm going to start two things in June. One I've already decided on, and that is, sorry, I got a pile of so many things, is this pattern by the Shaded Citrus. This is this Juneteenth day. And I'm going to stitch this in the Called For DMC. And this is 36 count flax linen by Zweigart. So this is just a really basic neutral. I'm really excited to start this. I will probably start this on Juneteenth and work on this next year. I'm also going to start one of these, and I haven't decided which one yet. I really like this set of smalls from Rebel Stitcher Designs called Civil Samplers. I want to stitch all of them. I'm definitely going to start one this June. I just don't know which one yet. So because I haven't decided, I haven't pulled fabric or anything yet. But you can see that they don't have a ton of colors, and some of them only have like one or two colors. So it should be pretty simple to choose one when I get to that point. And each one of them is a quote from, I think are they all African American? Yes. Shirley Anita Chisholm, Maya Angelou, and John Lewis. Sorry, John Robert Lewis. So I really like if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. I kind of might stitch that and hang up in my office. But they're all awesome. So that's June's plans. So in July, I'm going to start 2 Christmas pieces. I have 4 pieces picked for 2024, and I've decided that if I want to start all 4 of them, but I currently have 2 picked for July and 2 picked for December, but I might change my mind if I don't feel like it in the moment. So I'm just going to show you what I've got planned, but plans might change. So I want to start this one. I only have this is a PDF. This is Arranging Ornaments by Ink Circles. This was an exclusive from the Jingle Ball this year, or this past year, and I just really like it. My current plan is to stitch it with the Roxy Flossco flosses that came in the 2023 countdown sale, because I think there's enough there, the colors are there that I can just pull from that. So I'm gonna, I think it's called for in Classic Colorworks. It's either Classic Colorworks or DMC, and I'm just going to pick colors that I like. And then I think I'm also going to stitch it on the leftover linen that I have from that pattern as well. Because that's a really easy way for me to kit something up, is to just copy something else that I've already done, or another where a designer with actual, you know, design training has already made the choices for me. So that's probably what's going to happen. Next, I'm going to start this heart and hand piece called, well, I've got 2 of them kitted up in here. My plan is to start Doodles Christmas, which photos here, but also here. And I've got a piece of 36 count affogato. I think this is this picture this class, or is this fiber? This is fiber on a whim. And then I've got all the called for classic colorworks here ready to go. So that actually I had kitted up. I've had kitted up for a while. I just haven't started it. And then also in this bag, I have this pattern, which I also really love, with this little deer on it. I really want to stitch this for my mom. And so I might, if I decide that I don't want to, I might change my mind and stitch that instead. And I have fabric pulled. This is Eucalyptus Showers by Fiberlicious Shimmy Fibers. This was the fabric of the month fabric. I think it'll be a perfect green. So these are both kitted up and ready if I want. And they use basically the same floss palette, so that's why they're living together. But the plan is Doodles Christmas. And then I'm going to show you the December patterns because they fit the theme, and then we'll backtrack from there. I have 2 more Christmas patterns that I'd like to stitch in 2024, or at least start. One is Hibernation Day by Heartstring Samplerly. I'll put a picture here because it's kind of hard to see on the tiny little chart. I saw the model of this in Acorns and Threads maybe last year or 2 years ago, and it's beautiful. Yeah, I just really want to stitch it. And then I've been watching Caroline from Evertote stitch hers, and Stephanie from Frolic Knits is also stitching it, and they're both using the Roxy Floss conversion, and I really want the Roxy Floss conversion. So part of this will also be dependent on when I bite the bullet and finally purchase the fabric and the floss from Evertote for this. I just think it's beautiful. It's a puddle. Is it a Puddle of Mud song? Is that right? I don't even like Puddle of Mud, but I think this is just so beautiful. And it's, I don't know, this feels very classic and just holiday wintry to me. So, and then I will say, and then my other one actually is very, very, I think now that I'm looking at them side by side, they're very similar. But it's this one, it's Christmas Rose by Blackbird Designs. And so I'd also really like to stitch this. This is actually the very first Blackbird pattern I ever bought. I really liked this one from their set. I know a lot of people I think stitch Christmas Garden, but I don't know, I just really liked this one. This is number 4 in the Christmas Sampler series. I don't have anything pulled for this. I think it's called for in floss that I don't use, and the called for fabric is Wren by Picture This Plus, which I think I actually have a piece of, but I will maybe I will stitch it in the same as this because I think that could make that work, but I will figure that out. I've got at least 6 months to sort that out, right? So those are my Christmas pieces, which will get started in July or December depending on my mood. August, I have 2 things also picked out that are actually sewing themed. One is this one. I've got a picture of it. This is called Needle in Hand. It's by Hello from Liz Matthews. This is, she designed this for the 25th anniversary of Acorns and Threads. I think it was, I am not sure if it was just an anniversary piece that's exclusive to Acorns and Threads or if it was for a retreat, but I know you can only get it from Acorns and Threads. So if you're interested, you have to call them or be able to go there in person or what have you. It's in DMC, so I'll probably stitch it in DMC. And it's on 36 count bisque from Color and Cotton. I don't have anything pulled for it because it's DMC and it's easy enough to find, and I'll probably just grab some fabric from Stash when I get there. But I've actually had this in my stash for like 2 years, and I just need to get it stitched. It's really beautiful. And then the other one that is very, very, I mean, similar in theme, but I wouldn't say not similar in style, is this picture here. It's hard to see with my glare. This is the scissor sampler, the first one by Tell & Emblem. And I just really like this. I think I'm going to hate stitching that border. I really don't like repetitive borders. I've learned that about myself. But I think it's really beautiful. And I would like to stitch this, and I think I'd like to stitch the other one as well. And the only thing I've got pulled up for this so far is there's a piece of fabric in here. And I think this is a Forbidden Fiber Co. Fabric of the Month fabric. Yeah, it's called Buckwheat. And it's just a pretty neutral, and I think it will be perfect for this. So those are my 2 August new starts. And yeah. So September, we are down to, not down to, maybe down to, hopefully down to my very last Bird Crush Club bird start. And it is the American Goldfinch. So I'll stick a picture in here, but I'll also pull the pattern out, maybe. This little bird here. And I've got fabric and some of the flosses already pulled. And so this is just this is just Vintage Country Mocha. And then all the Bird Crush clubs, when you were in the club, came with 1 Threadworks. That was for each pattern. So I believe in this case that is, yeah, that's like the belly of the bird. So hopefully that means by the end of 2024, I will have all 12 of my Bird Crush Club birds finished, and that will make me very happy. The next pattern, I only have a photo. This is from this is Tiny Modernist. I'm like, I know what it is, and it's from her Patreon. I joined the Tiny Modernist Patreon this year because I feel it's really basic, not basic, only it's 1 pattern a month, and they're all adorable. And it's like, I think she only has 1 level, and I like it. I feel like all of the patterns are something I'm gonna stitch, which I haven't felt about all the Patreons I've been in. I feel like, and I will say this too about Patreon is overwhelming to me. I've realized I can't be a pattern hoarder. It stresses me out. So I've dropped a couple Patreon memberships because having too many patterns that I'm never going to get to stresses me out. I feel guilty about not stitching them. So I think I've dropped a couple, and I'm going to drop down levels in a couple because I want to be there and I want to support the folks, but I can't get patterns that I'm never going to stitch. And that feels very, very weird to say, and almost like, you know, it's hashtag first world problems all over the place, but can't do it. Can't do it. So anyway, neither here nor there. Autumn Night Garden by Tiny Modernist. I have not pulled anything for this. It's called for in DMC. My only thought at the moment is that I'm going to stitch it on the same piece of fabric that I'm going to stitch Moonshine Cabin on. Because this is a beautiful dark blue that looks like night sky, and I think it'll be perfect. I think she stitched it. The called for is black, or like chalkboard black. I actually have a piece of chalkboard black linen by Witchell, and I can't stand it, so I'm not going to stitch on that, but I think it'll look good on this. And this is a huge piece, so it'll be perfect. All right, so that is September. October, we've got more. Actually, neither of these are really Halloween, which that's okay. I can branch out. But this one's Halloween. That's not true. It's just called October. So this is October by the Cross-Eyed Cricket. I'll put a picture here. So I bought this when I was at Shepherd's Bush this past, I think we were there in August. And I purchased, when I was there, the fabric that it's called for, which is this ale. Okay, so I didn't buy the called for. I bought what the model at the shop was stitched on, which is this, which I'm pretty sure is Picture This Plus Ale. And then I also bought the buttons, which are very cute. And oh, let me show you the most adorable thing ever. So when you buy a button pack at Shepherd's Bush, they include a tiny little printout of the pattern with all the buttons on it. Let me see, so you know where the buttons go. Isn't that adorable? I've got this tiny little thing, which, I mean, I think you could look at the pattern itself and figure it out. Oh no, the buttons are different. Maybe the buttons are different. Oh, this is the way they have the buttons. They put the buttons differently than the pattern does. That's why. But isn't that adorable? Anyway. And then I also bought, there's this is a Thread Gatherer Silken Colors. This is the color of the letters. So this is the only thing that I purchased that is called for. I will probably, they give you, because there's the, you know, what's called for by the pattern, and then Shepherd's Bush also tells you how they stitched it in their model. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Probably I'm just gonna pull from stash. I'll pull what I can and buy some stuff and figure it out. But that's what I got. I figured the most bang for your buck in terms of the pattern was the beautiful variegation in the letters. And the rest of it, you know, was pretty, but yeah. I like to use the variegated threads where they're going to have the most impact. And then the other thing I'm going to start is this pattern, which I'm super excited about. I've had this kitted up for a year. I think this came out in did this come out last year? I don't remember now, but it's Needle Heathen by Bendy Stitchy. And I've had this ready to go in my stash. It came out in 2022, so it hasn't been that long. I've had this in my stash for 2 years, basically. I think I bought it when I went to Acorns and Threads for Acorn Gathering. No, I didn't go to Acorn Gathering in 2022. I don't remember. We were there in 2022, my friend and I. Anyway, I have some fabric. I have the pins, I have a piece of fabric, and I have the called for threadworks, because it's called for in 2 threadworks. And I actually have both of them. This is red velvet, but I do actually have the other one, which is called Samson. So I'm going to stitch it in the called for threadworks. It's a really pretty variegated red. My fabric, though, is, I don't know what this is. This is a neutral Lugana. I don't know what it is. That's how long it's been kitted up, is that I didn't write it down or keep track. So, but I'm super excited to finally stitch this and turn it into a needle book of some sort. So it's called Needle Heathen, right? So heathen means, you know, brings to mind spooky Halloween things. So I'm going to start that in October as well. All right, November, I have no plans yet. So I have 2 open spots for new starts in 2024, at least in the planning. I went through all my patterns and nothing was calling to me. So I just decided to just leave those blank for now. In theory, they will be autumn themed. What I might start is I have 4 autumn lane stitchery pieces, like the big ones with the witches on them. I might start 2 of those. I might also move around some other things so I can start those earlier, so I could stitch them through October. But nothing is really was calling to me, and I didn't want to put off filming this video any longer or make plans just for the sake of, you know, making plans. So I don't think I'll have any issues coming up with 2 more new starts for next year. And who knows what wonderful things will get released in the next couple months that I can add there. So that is actually everything, because I already showed you my December stitching. So I have 22 out of 24 new starts planned for 2024. What are you going to do? I'm very excited for all of them. And the other thing that I'm pretty excited about is everything that you saw, with the exception of Olivia the Forest Witch, because I purchased all of that, as well as the floss for the Stitch for Pride, all came from my stash. None of that was new fabric. Most of it is DMC that I already had, or I'm going to pull, or I pulled from other places. So, and then I know I mentioned a couple places where I might go buy like the Evertote or the Roxy Floss for Hibernation Day, but most of those are all coming out of my stash. So they are 24, they're basically 24 kits for my new starts, or 22, sorry. So I'm pretty excited about that, because that means, you know, I'm using up the stuff that I have. And it also makes me feel like I've got too much stuff, but you know, let's take our wins where we can. I feel good about myself for using my stash, not, oh gosh, your stash is out of control. It's not. But yeah, so 22 out of 24 new starts-ish for 2024. Let's talk about WIPGO. So WIPGO, if you don't know, was invented by Jessie of Jessie Marie Does Stuff. And it's basically bingo for your works in progress, bingo for your WIPs, hence WIPGO. And so generally speaking, folks put a different project or in each of the boxes of the bingo board, the WIPGO board, and Jessie Marie calls 2 numbers every month. And those are the projects that you work on that month. And you can set whatever goals you want for what working on that looks like for you. You could say, I'm going to finish these. I'm going to put X number of days into them, X number of hours, so many stitches, what have you. What I decided to do, this is my very first WIPGO board, and many of you probably already know that the WIPGO numbers have been called for January. So I'm going to show you those projects. I've already started working on one. So what I decided to do for my WIPGO board is I put all of my 2020, 2021, and 2022 WIPs on it, almost. I had 16 of those coming into 2024. One of them is Dark Queen of the Earth. She is not going on there because she is going to get finished this month or before March 9th, no matter what. So I didn't want her to not get called. Another piece also is going to get finished this month, so I didn't put it on there. So that means there were 14 projects to go on the WIPGO board. There is, I'm going to show you them in like age order, so I'll show you them in a minute. But basically, what I've done is 4 of them are things that I know I can finish within a day or 2. So they are finish goals. And then the rest of them, then there's 10 left after that. And those 10 are each on there twice. And so that gets me to 24. And then I've left the free space 13 as a free space. Because it mathed. So 4 things are on there to finish. And then 10 things are on there twice. And the goal for each of those is to spend 3 days on them in the month. I decided to only go with 3 days because I don't think that's going to get most of them finished. It will get some of them very, very close, if not finished. And the reason why is because I was thinking to myself, if I put more days than that, that's 6 days, basically, that already are called every month. And I have a lot of other things that I like to stitch, and I didn't want to take away from that by putting things on WIPGO. And I know that they're, I either already have or will show you my 24 new starts. I'm not sure where we are in the order of this video right now. And then I know how many things I usually start, and then other things might come up. So I didn't want to make WIPGO feel like a burden, but I did want to make sure that each of these 14 projects gets some priority and 4 of them get finished. So that's why. Plus and the other thing is that I know that, say, one of them is a Halloween piece. It's going to get touched probably in April and probably in October, even if it doesn't get called that month for WIPGO, because my goal in those months is always to touch all of my Halloween WIPs. So they will have an opportunity to also get worked on elsewhere, which might get some of them close to getting finished. So it would be wonderful if by the end of 2024, I had no WIPs left from 2020 that were 2022 starts or older. Will that happen? I don't think so, because there's a couple of them where I don't think that's possible, but getting them really close to a finish would feel really nice. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to show you a picture of my board if I haven't already. And I've got like a graphic that sort of summarizes all of this. And then I'm going to show you where all of those projects are as of today. And then, well, first I'm going to show you the January. Yeah, I'm going to show them to you just in age order. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I can't find the first one on my list, my oldest WIP. I had it the other day, and I know what I did was I put it somewhere safe because I knew I was going to show it in this video, and I don't know where that's the place, somewhere safe place is. So if I find it before this gets posted, I will insert a photo. If not, we're just going to hope that I find it before it gets called on WIPGO, because it's in this room somewhere. And that is my very first cross stitch piece that I kitted up and started in March of 2020. So this is a Stardew Valley map, and I'll put a picture here. I do not have a picture of where it is, but it's very, very close to being done. The reason why it's not done is because it's stitched, I think, on, it's either 14 or 16 count Ada. For some reason, I was stitching with 3 strands of floss, and it is awful and horrible to stitch. And it's so close to being done, I just don't like it. But I'm going to finish it because it's going to get finished. I will complete this. It's silly to not. So this is my oldest WIP. It's on here as a complete, and it was started March 29th, 2020. The cross stitch piece that started it all. My next is it 5? It's 5 pieces are all from 2021. Hang on, I'm going to grab them off the floor here. And the first one, I'll put a picture here of what it will look like when it's done. And it's called, I call it No Pants. It might just be called Home is Where the Pants Aren't. And I'll put the name of the designer here because I don't think I have it written down. But it's also almost done. But you can see my first 2 WIPs are very different than what I stitch, what you've seen me stitch if you've been watching my videos for any time, or any of the other things I've shown. I think I bought them both on Etsy. They're very, they're more, is this modern contemporary like graphic style than the other things that I stitch. But this is where I am. I mean, I need to finish like, you know, what I think there's 2, 4, I think there's 6 leaves here, and then 2, 4, 6 leaves here, and this is done. I already finished the words. It's done. I think this is adorable. My partner asked me to stitch something that says "Home is Where the Pants Aren't," because he's one of those folks that when you walk in the door, he's not wearing work pants anymore. So I really, really want to get this stitched and have this be like a, you know, when we bought our first house sort of, you know, thing. Like, you know, some people have like Home Sweet Home. We have Home is Where the Pants Aren't, you know? So that is a finished goal. So both of those 2 pieces, those are my 2 oldest WIPs. They are going to get finished this year, you know, or else. The next one is a piece that actually I really love this, but it's just a lot of stitching, and it doesn't get a lot of love throughout the year because it's very, very Halloween-y. Or it is Halloween, sorry. It's very, I don't know. It's almost full coverage, Halloween. I'll put a picture here. This is called Don't Be Scared. This is art that was adapted to cross stitch, and it was in a Just Cross Stitch magazine. I will make sure all the details are here. And I actually got a good bit of this done, work on this past October. I'm almost to the end. I don't think it goes much further over than this. I got another inch or 2 at the bottom, but I just really, really like this. I would like to get it done. So this is not a finished goal. This is going to get 2 days. This has 2 WIPGO numbers, and so it's going to get 6 days just on WIPGO this year. It will also get at least 1 day in April and 1 day in October. So that's 8 days of stitching this year. That could get it pretty close to being done. And that would be really nice. And if it is really close by in October, I will do my darndest to get this finished. So yeah, it's just really cute. I think I don't know, I like it. The next piece I have is Autumn Flowers by Owl Forest. I'll put a picture here. I bought the thread for this from Owl Forest. And I think the PDF I have is a pattern, or the pattern I have is a PDF. And I have not worked on this, I think, since I showed it in my WIP parade. I had really good intentions of pulling it out and stitching on it at least 1 Friday a month and joining in with the hashtag Owl Forest Fridays. That did not happen. I really wanted to. It just didn't happen. So this is where I am. I think well, I don't remember. I love this fabric. Look how beautiful that is. This is, I know this is Mystic Fabrics. I want to say this is Please Scream Inside Your Heart. Yeah, it is, which is such a good name for a fabric color. But I just didn't pull it out. So I really need to get working on that because the floss is beautiful. I really do like the pattern. It just has languished. And so it will also get 6 days when WIPGO. It in theory should get touched a couple other times, but it didn't in 2023. So the next piece is a Christmas piece. My Christmas whips did not get touched like they should have, excuse me, this past December because I got distracted by other stitching. So this has not gotten worked on, I think, since July. And this is called, I'll put a picture here. I call it Vintage Ladies. I'm not sure it has a real name, but I'll put a picture here. I know it was in a World of Cross Stitching magazine inspired by art that was turned into a cross stitch. And I love it. This is where I am. So there's the whole other lady here, and then there's a rug, and then there's some words. I'm going to actually frog these words and redo them because I didn't do a great job with the back stitching there. But I really do love it, and I love the colors. So this will also is on there has 2 numbers, so she'll get 6 days, plus hopefully get touched at least once in July and then in December. So in theory, we'll get at least 8 days in 2024, which should get it, if those are good days, it should get it pretty close. And I also would in theory pull this out on the 24th or the 25th of a month to if I do any like Christmas stitching within a month, this is a piece that could be pulled out one of those days, so it could get finished. The next one, also I wish I had finished by now, but I only have a picture of the pattern. This is from a Cotton and Twine subscription box, and I have had good intentions of getting this done. I think I've tried a lot of different ways. It's got owls on it, so I've stitched on it on Sundays. I think I tried a 25/7 this when I was attempting to do 25/7 at one point, and it's just not getting there. So it's on the WIPGO board twice. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's not. It's on the WIPGO board as a finish. And this is where I am. I have the top half done. And I'm also going to rechart the words and say my favorite season is fall of the patriarchy. And I actually purchased a pattern off Etsy that had those words charted that I'm going to just put in here. I was going to chart it myself, and then I decided for like the $2 I think I spent on the pattern, it was, better worth that than my time and struggling through the charting. So this is just stitched with all the kit fabric and floss. All right, so those were all my 2021 whips that are left. All right, so next I've got my 2022 WIPGO projects. One of them, I think there's 8. There's 10. There's 8. Math isn't mathing. There's 8. So I will grab those right now. So one of them, actually 2 of these have been called already, but I've only worked on one. Sorry, everything's on the floor. So the WIPGO calls were 9 and 22, I think. Is that right? Yes, 9. And yes, so number 9 on my WIPGO board was Come to the Garden by Teresa Kogut. So I'll put a picture here. And so I've actually already worked on this month, 2 days. So I'm almost done with this. I worked on this past week. And so this is where I am. I've been working down on the bottom border, and I finished all the blue flowers and leaves in this bowl, and then I worked on finishing these motifs and then up the side here. So I've got one more day to work on this, and so probably what I will work on is getting another motif in the bottom done. Just depends on how many days I work on it. So I'm also not saying like a day is whatever it gets. It's because some days I can stitch for an hour and some days I can stitch for 6. So it's really just depends on the day of the week and what I feel like. I'm not really holding myself to an hour number or thread length or even a stitch count. It's whatever, it is what it is. So I think in theory, this will get So this will get 6 days from WIPGO, which hopefully means I can get the whole bottom corner of this done. And then I'd like to get, there's a flower motif here. And then, so if I get everything that I wanted this year, I would like to get everything, you know, up to this butterfly done on all the sides. So that's fill in the bottom and all the way up to here. And that will get me about, I think, 3/4 of the way done with the whole piece just off of WIPGO. And then I would probably pull this out in August as well, and probably pull this out for sampler September. So there's potential that this could get finished or real close at the end of the year. So I just think, I was just staring at this yesterday when I was stitching on it. It's just so beautiful. Like, I can't wait to have this done. It's stitched with all the called for, and I believe this is Affogato by Fiber on a Whim. And it's just beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so that is my first WIPGO call, which is almost done for January. My next piece that's on the WIPGO board that is a 2022 start is this pattern. This is Midnight Magic by Stitch Rovia, Emma Congdon. I got this out of a magazine. This is in, what's it in? This is in Cross Stitcher magazine. But it also, I believe you can now buy this on her Etsy or her website. So you can get this. And here's where I am. I worked on this year, and I got everything. I think I got almost all that top done. I finished this year. I think I started this in October of 2022, and then I worked on it a bunch this past year. And it's on this really pretty fabric. This is, I think it's called Wicked Nights by Fiberlicious, Yummy Fibers. And, which is a lot lighter than the called for. It's called for on like a navy. But I have this, and I have it, I think I have it counted off right. You see how the moon looks like it's got some clouds here. And the word magic is going to kind of sit in that green if I counted and calculated everything correctly. So, I don't know if this might get done this year also. So, I would be excited to finish any of these. I know I've said that. I'm like a broken record, right? This could get done this year everything could get done this year if I focused on it. But yeah, so there's that. The next one is, this is Teresa Kogut. This is Still Witch's Quaker. And I have like the bottom middle done, I think, over to the one side. Yeah, hold on, I'm going to fold this fabric so it kind of looks a little bit neater so you can see what I have done. So this is the left, the right. This is the right side, right? Hang on, let me look at this again. It's my right hand. This is my left hand. This is the left side. Oh my goodness gracious. So this is as far over as it goes this way, and then there's more over here, but this is what I've got done. And this is stitched on, I don't remember what this fabric name is, but this is also Fiberlicious, and it's the called for floss, which is like this variegated brown black and then this bright green. And you can see there's a little bright green and this purple, so it matches really nicely. I don't think this is getting done this year. There, one of them I don't think is going to get done this year. But that's on there. Another project that's on the WIPGO board twice. Next, this is another stitch along that's no longer a stitch along. Here's a picture. This is the Pro Choice stitch along that was started by it's Notorious Needle. I believe you can purchase this whole pattern now on their website. I started this in May of 2022, and this is all I have done. And so this is on the WIPGO board twice, and it's on, I believe this is 16 count Aina, all the called for DMC. And I also don't think this will get done. This is a really big pattern. And these letters are real stitch heavy. But I hope to get maybe the whole top done this year. Like if everything that you can see on this, the way this fabric is folded, was finished by the end of the year, I would feel really good. But I really like it. And I have all the called for DMC. This next pattern is a finish call. It is called Scissors with Flowers. It's also by Tiny Modernist. And I'll put a picture here. And you can see I'm almost done. It's so close to being done. And I will say this part of the reason why my May is sewing and flower themed is because of patterns like this. This is one of the pieces that I was like, I would really like to hang this in my sewing room. And so that's part of the reason why that month is got that theme. And this could very easily get finished, or will get finished. The goal is to finish this as part of WIPGO. So I think that's very doable in less than 3 days. So I think that's my last. Yeah, that is the last of the ones that are called to finish this month, or finish and when they're called for WIPGO. Sorry, I dropped one. The next one is, this is my other piece that has been called in January. I have not worked on this. Here's a picture. This is Santa's Trips by Barbara Anna. This was also a stitch along a few years ago. I purchased it when it was released as a whole pattern. I think it was maybe in 2020, right when I first started stitching. This was a stitch along, so I didn't really know much about Flosstube or stitch alongs back then. But this is where I am. You can see that. I have the top 3 blocks mostly done. This third block's not done. My goal, I think, was to get it done this past year, but I did not actually stitch on this at all in December like I was hoping to. So, which was a bummer. It is on a 40 count. I think this is Steel by, is it Picture This Plus? I don't remember now. I'm stitching with the called for DMC, but it's on 40 count and it's very tiny. It's actually a little hard to stitch. Next is, this is by Lindy Stitches. This is called A Stitch for Sweet Freedom. I have the pattern here as well. And this is where I am. I started at the bottom because I really wanted to stitch the dress. And so I've got a little bit of the dress and then some words and that star motif done. And so it says a stitch for sweet freedom, and 1 for being kind, 2 more for diversity, the last for a humble mind. And I know this is called Acid Wash by Forbidden Fiber Co. And it's stitched in, I don't think I'm stitching it in all the called for, but some of the called for. I think where I didn't have the over dyed, I'm using the DMC, or I'm subbing out. But I don't know if this will get done this year either. The dress is a lot, is full coverage. So it would be nice to get the dress and maybe the words done, but we shall see. And then my last 2022 WIP that's on the WIPGO board is called Salem 1692 Sampler. This is by Witch's Garden Crafts. I'll put a picture in. And this is where I am. I've got the top 3 motifs stitched. I think I showed this in a Flosstube maybe in October or early November. I've not stitched on it since. I don't remember what fabric is, but I know it's 40 count. I'm stitching it not in the called for, which was all DMC. I subbed in some fancy floss, and I still feel the same way I did when I showed it last time, that this black is too black. That spider just looks very out of place with the rest of the muted colors. So I think he's going to get pulled, and a more subtle over-dyed black is going to get subbed in, but not today's problem. So also we'll get 6 days as part of WIPGO this year. So that's everything for WIPGO. We'll see how it goes. Never done it before. I tried to set goals that I thought were realistic given all of the other stitching that I like to do, rather than, you know, say 10 days or what have you. I picked 3. I think the finish goals they're things that are definitely finishable. Someone needs to tell me to do it and I need to do it. So, yeah, that is what I've got for WIPGO. All right, so lastly, I'd like to talk about some plans I have for my Flosstube channel in general. I think I'm going to continue to film every 2 weeks. Right now, that works, and I have a lot of stitching. I'm not sure that I could do monthly and not have a very, very long video. I'd rather do shorter videos every 2 weeks than, than monthly at this point. So we will continue to do that. I've got this sort of scheduled out for the foreseeable future. I would like to start doing some giveaways. I actually pulled, sorting out, my 2024 plans, I pulled out a bunch of charts that I've either already stitched and like to rehome, or found some duplicates maybe of things that I purchased more than one copy of. So once I figure out the best way for me to be able to do that, in terms of, I don't know, giveaway stuff, I'd like to do that. I will probably do a WIP parade in August because it will coincide with what hopefully, if I'm still doing this in August, will be the 1-year anniversary of my Flosstube. And other than that, I did buy a new ring light, so hopefully the lighting is better and there are no smudges across my my camera lens this time. So, trying to improve the quality of my videos is something, it's a work in progress, right? You don't know what you don't know until you've tried it, and then editing and all of those things. So those are the goals. Yeah. So other than that, thank you very much. If you've made it to the end of what was likely a very long planning video, thank you so much. I hope that well, if you enjoyed listening to my plans, you will like and subscribe and all of those things, and hang out with me throughout 2024 to see if I actually get them done. We shall see. So happy 2024, everyone, and we'll see you soon on Flosstube.